It's amazing what you can do with old junk. These are old spring U-bolts, and this time around I'm using one of them, cutting it in half, to make some brackets to hold my Maxtrax on. The problem is I like to carry 4 Maxtrax. In fact, I like to carry a lot more, but lately I've been just strapping them onto the roof rack because there's been nowhere to put them. I wanted them where I could get at them. So I carved up the U-bolts into 2 halves, and then I did a bit of rough measuring to get it right. It's got to go through a tube so I could afford to cut off a bit of the thread. Then I trimmed up the ends, of course, on the belt sander. This is just moments before the belt sander exploded, so you better see that bit. And then I gave the threads a good clean up on the wire brush on the other end. And that gave me 2 little bits of bent steel all ready to rock and roll. You know, I've used very, very similar bits as cable winders. And then I used some washers, the same ones that were on the U-bolts, and I just welded them, touch welded them on each side. And the reason I only did it on each side was so that the whole lot would heat up and it'd still be unwelded on 2 sides. Now, why did I do that? Well, you know, thinking ahead here, this washer has to wrap itself around a piece of pipe. So I figured if it was sort of curved, then it would just lock onto the pipe once the bolt was tightened up and hold itself in place. I mean, you never know until you give it a go, do you? But it sort of worked. Look at that. You can see it there. Oh, well, you could if I could hold it in front of the camera. There you go. See the curve in it? And that'll fit roughly into the tube. Well, first of all, I've got to drill some holes into the tube. Now, this is my ancient custom alloy roof rack. Somebody knew what he was doing a long time ago. Hey, Mick, this has been the best roof rack I've ever had. And it's still easy to work. It's been bent and knocked around and chopped up to take different sorts of things over the years. I'm still using it. It actually holds the roof on, but don't tell anyone. And there we go. All I've got to do now is bolt them up. And yes, I'm using the nuts that came off the old leaf spring U-bolts too. Why not? Perfectly suited to it. And more washers. Now, there's not much of a trick to this, except that being great big solid steel bolts in an alloy rack, if I'm not careful, I could squeeze it right down. So the trick is, as always, just to apply the right amount of pressure. What's the right amount of pressure? Oh, come on, you work it out. Too much is too much. Right, and now time to put on the tracks. Kind of cross your fingers here and hope it all works. You can see the problem, can't you? I had no chance of using the end hooks, the ones you should use. But this way, right there, above the door, I can get at them really easily, even with the truck on its side. Not that we're planning on doing that, but, you know, these things, after that time they saved us up the Cape and the time they saved us in the Gulf, I just want to know I can get at them really quickly. And this is just about perfect. The strap, if I had to, I could whip it off with a knife in 2 seconds flat. I'd probably have it loose in a lot of instances anyway. You know, there's a much better way, and it's these things. These are a Maxtrax invention, and you can hold 1 or 2, and you can click them around, get them on and off really quickly, but they depend on using these holes, and I don't have that possibility with this, not unless I put that dog up there. Oh, stop it! He's got a wombat, can you believe it? Anyway, there you go. One last test, just to make sure it works. Leave that poor bat alone. Yes, the door does open. Do you know how many times I've done things like that and then realised it didn't? Cool. Can't blow around. Perfect location. I can always get at them. And I know they're there, and they're just the best insurance you can have off road.